Hi, and welcome to the Skincarma Pod. I'm Carmine, the creator and voice of the Skincarma blog. With more than 25 years in beauty as a brand builder, copywriter, and skincare junkie, I'm putting my product wisdom and expertise to work demystifying skincare. On today's episode of the Skincarma Pod, I'm joined by Evelyn Wang, founder and CEO of Silverist, a hair care brand created specifically for people embracing their natural silver, gray, and white hair. And you might be thinking, you don't have much hair, what gives? Well, you'd be right, I do shave my head, and you've likely never seen me without my signature cap. But it doesn't mean I'm not fascinated by hair and people's relationship to their hair. And that's exactly what intrigued me so much when I first met Evelyn at the Beauty Matter Future 50 Symposium in LA last fall. She's magnetic, fascinating, and we're cut from the same big beauty cloth. With a career spanning some of the biggest names in beauty, from L'Oréal and Lauder to indie brands, Evelyn brings a rare, unfiltered perspective on what the industry gets right and where it still completely misses the mark. After years of dyeing her own hair and watching brands retrofit existing formulas for silver hair, she saw massive white space hiding in plain sight. I have so much I want to talk with Evelyn about, and certainly intend to explore the realities of building a brand from scratch, the difference between corporate polish and founder survival mode, and why most beauty marketing aimed at women over 40 feels tone deaf at best and insulting at worst. But as always, I just want to have an organic conversation that goes where it goes, coming at it from both ends of the Gen X scale. And that includes your favorite Gen X podcaster. So let's get to it. Let's talk with Evelyn. Evelyn, hi.
Hey there.
Hey, welcome to the Skincarma Pod.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. We've been waiting to do this for a while since
We
we met
have,
way
yeah,
back in the fall.
way
Yes.
back. And it seems like forever ago, but yeah, I'm
Oh
so
my
glad to be here.
God. That was a whole winter ago for
It
me.
was a season ago.
Yes, I need to be downtown LA with you right now.
Yes.
Um, all right, so I'm excited. Of course, I'll have my usual run of questions, and Lord only knows if I get to them or not. Before we jump into the main interview, I want you to give us some background. I mean, my listeners probably don't know you like I know you. Um, you know, where did you grow up, first of
I
all?
grew up in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, I
So
love
yeah, I'm a
Vancouver.
Canadian.
Oh, that's awesome. I had a very, very, very relaxing and enjoyable weekend in Vancouver a few years ago.
It's such a beautiful city,
It's
and when
beautiful.
you grow
Yeah.
up there, you don't appreciate it. So I, as a kid, we'd have visitors and they'd say, "Oh my God, Vancouver's so beautiful." And I would just think, "Really? Is it?" It wasn't until I moved away and then I thought, "Oh my gosh, I really did
Yeah.
grow up in such a beautiful, magnificent place."
You really did. It is magnificent. I can't say that where I grew up in Connecticut was magnificent, but people do tell me, "Oh my God, I love, oh my God, those small New England towns." And I'm like, oh, I couldn't wait to get out of that small New England town. I did not appreciate it at the time.
It's always the
Um,
way.
isn't it?
Mhm.
So, and what were your aspirations for yourself as a young adult? Like, what did you want to
You
do? Where
know,
did you go to school? What did you study?
yeah, well, so I went to school at the University of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
I studied psychoanalytic thought. So as an undergrad, I read all of Freud's works,
Oh my
you
God.
know, and have not really used it in a formal way. But when I was younger, I thought I'd be a veterinarian, and I'm not. I just
Oh,
always loved animals. My sister's a
yeah.
veterinarian. I never necessarily thought that I'd go into the world of business. Um, so it wasn't beauty isn't really something that I aspired to when I was younger. In
Hmm.
fact, a lot of people who know me from, my younger days when I was still forming, I guess, are surprised that I went into beauty. They are like, "Oh, I thought you'd be maybe a lawyer or you'd do something in politics." Um, yeah, they're surprised that I went into beauty. So,
Are you surprised you went into beauty?
I was always very interested in the way people, especially women, groom
Hmm.
themselves and almost more from like an intellectual perspective, like, oh, like what makes somebody be a nerd versus like a popular girl versus this versus that. So I don't think I was actually that into makeup as a young person. I wasn't that
Hmm.
person who was like studying makeup techniques, who like knew how to do a amazing routine. I probably had like more of a honestly like intellectual distance from it. So, yeah, people
Mm.
find it strange that I actually ended up working in the beauty industry.
Oh, fascinating. And that's the perfect segue to my first question. And it's that, you've worked at some of the largest companies in the world. We both worked
We
at
both have,
L'Oreal.
yes.
We have that shared experience, and you often find yourself in those situations where you're having to defend your ideas in rooms full of skeptics.
Yes.
And of course, there's nothing like a room full of French skeptics. So
Right.
how
Right. That's a
how
very specific L'Oreal
it
experience, right?
is. People who haven't worked at L'Oreal don't know what it is to face a room of French skeptics like
Yeah.
looking at you like you're crazy. So
Yeah.
how did those years shape the way you think about storytelling, decision making, and leadership?
Yeah, they were very formative. I mean, I think what you described about L'Oreal, it's something that is so unique to that New York office, right? Where you
Mm,
have um, US people who've grown up their entire marketing careers in the US. Then you have French management, and you put them in this like very high pressure, high achieving office. And it is often tension, but I was thinking about it, I think that tension is actually the magic. So when you're in it, I think
mm,
what it is like, the Americans, the way that you're taught to approach marketing is like, okay, well, who's my consumer? I want to understand the market size. I want to align on the communication points. I want to have alignment. And then I want to be empowered to go off and execute all these things, right? And then with French management, it's not like they don't understand those things, but to them, it's like, well, the market research, all of that, that is one data point that I'm going to consider, but I'm also going to rely on my intuition, rely
hmm.
on these intangibles. And actually, it's a lot of those intangibles that make beauty beauty. And
Yeah.
I think it actually is that tension that you have to sell, as you said, like you have to sell and storytell to this like mixed audience, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I was actually always on the US marketing operations side, the most unsexy name for, basically working on the
Yeah.
US side of marketing in mass. And I think I was definitely seen as like being very practical and straightforward, very kind of more on the American side. But I think it really helped me like to meld those two aspects. And it definitely made me better. It sharpened up my storytelling skills. It sharpened up my ability to just speak to something with conviction. And I
Hmm.
definitely carried that into other subsequent roles, even though it was such a pressure cooker at the time. It was exhausting at the time. But when I look back with like more distance, I'm like, that there was actually a lot of magic there.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, we
In
both really
retrospect,
appreciate it.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my god.
I mean,
So
there are so
so
many crazy
yeah.
things that happen, but yeah, I definitely appreciate it in hindsight.
um so that experience taught you how to argue for ideas but not necessarily how to run a lean profitable business. And when
Right.
we spoke a couple of weeks ago, we talked about this. Like, you don't necessarily learn how to run a business when you're working at L'Oreal. You
Mhm.
learn how to build a brand,
Right.
and those aren't the same thing. So I would like to know, like, in your work like inventing, creating from nothing this, Silverist, your brand. What surprised you most about the actual work of building a business, especially when it comes to, the overhead and agencies and
Yeah.
really kind of flying solo, right?
Right.
Like doing it
Right.
all on your own.
Yeah, I think you're so right. It's a different animal. The one exercise is learning how to build a brand, and you have all of these resources, and then and you're often, to your point, you're directing a team. You've got all these agencies, and then you're a founder, and you're like, oh wow, that's how much that I knew that's what that cost, but now that I have to pay for it out of basically my own pocket, wow, that I have a different perspective on the budget. So it
Mm,
forces you to strip it all away and ask yourself, like, okay, what can I do myself? What do I actually need? Um, and it forces you to look at the ROI of every single resource you take on in a different way. And I think for me, it's been a lot of learning skill sets that previously were things that I directed, but did I know how to
mm,
do them myself? Like even something like changing a banner on Shopify, did I know how to do that myself? Like, no, because somebody else did that for me, So like
right.
learning those skills and yeah, there's actually so much you can learn these days on your own. You can be really lean, I think, especially if your business is online at first. There is so much that you can streamline, but yet achieve pretty great results. So it just makes me feel like you should actually go back to school as a CMO every few years because everything changes and you should
Yeah.
force yourself to go back to the beginning so you can learn those skills that you kind of missed as you go up and evolve?
Right. You're like not focused on all of that other stuff. You're
Right,
just like kind of moving forward and hopefully
right.
successfully. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so let's jump into the brand. Silver hair hasn't existed forever, yet the industry largely treated it, to your point when we first talked, as a footnote, not as a primary consumer. Was
right.
there a specific moment when you realized this isn't just a personal journey, this is a real business opportunity?
I I don't know if there was like one exact moment where I thought, that's it. I'm gonna do a brand with silver hair, but it was more like pattern recognition. I think
Mm,
that I had already started my silver hair journey around the end of 2015. And yeah, it was very personal. It was me looking for products to work on my hair now that it was completely different. But I just started to then see things that are things that I'm trained to look for as a marketer. Like I started to see like, oh, these big brands are relabeling products that they
mm,
originally intended for like blonde hair, for instance. And now
mhm,
I'm seeing that they realize women with gray hair are using these products. So instead of saying just like for blonde hair, it says for blonde, silver, white tones. Like, huh, interesting. I'm starting to see gray hair pop up on trend reports. I'm starting to see on social media so many women, especially sharing their journey of going from dyed hair to gray hair. And so it was seeing all of these things converging and then also seeing, oh, hair care is becoming more premium. I'm seeing hair care go the way of skincare, where we have brands that are for curls, we have brands that are for blondes, but hey, we don't have a brand for gray hair. Why not? So it was all of those things. And then thinking, like, just having this feeling of compulsion, actually, that, hey, if I don't do this as someone who's actually personally gone through this journey and has like 20 years of experience in this industry, I will kick myself. I will think about
right.
it forever. So it just became this thing that I had to do.
Ah, and
Yeah.
so what are those besides the fact that just on the face of it from a consumer service uh perspective, it's just boneheaded. Like what is it? What is it from a formulation standpoint, and then the consumer standpoint that you see yourself filling?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it goes back to what was on the market at the time. So mostly everything on the market at the time was purple pigmented products. So a lot of
Mm,
times, um, women who color treat their hair blonde, who dye their hair blonde, they were using things like purple shampoos to counteract the brassiness and the yellowing that happens when you go through a color treated process like that. So, um, those same products were starting to get marketed towards people who have natural gray, white, silver hair. And um, they were being marketed to them because of tone as a common factor. But the
yeah.
thing is, there are actually 2 completely different types of hair. Like, one is
Mm,
processed and color treated, and the other is a natural hair type that isn't necessarily processed, that has actually, like, lost melanin. That's actually what happens when our hair grows gray, is that
oh,
there's no
really?
melanin in the hair shaft. So, if you think about what how does a skin type that has less melanin in it differ from a skin type that has more melanin? The same things apply to natural gray hair. So it actually is more sensitive to heat damage. It
Mm-hmm.
actually, and that is actually one of the reasons why it can appear yellow, is due to the keratin damage from too much heat styling. It also actually is different, completely different from blonde hair and how it absorbs tone and pigments. So, because it's a natural hair type, it actually doesn't need as much toning as color treated blonde hair, which is constantly pulling warmth, So, um, the way that, so there was nothing on the market that was just like actually thinking about everything that happens when your hair becomes gray. So it can also become a little bit more dry. Things like shine become a concern. Softness and texture are a really big concern. And then to your point, too, it's also about what happens when women go through this journey. So a lot of times when they go through this journey, they're actually becoming more sensitized towards what's in formulations in general, because they realize, like, oh, my scalp feels a lot better now that I'm no longer putting permanent hair dyes on my scalp. So they have an awareness and an awakening about what's in the formulas. So Silverist is really, let's address all of that. Let's not just
Yeah.
address one aspect of tone. Let's tone, but let's do it in a way where it's calibrated for the needs of natural grays. And then let's also talk about the shine and the softness and the texture. And let's throw in some ingredients in there that people might typically think of as being for skincare. But let's
Mm.
include that for the scalp so that it's really um, a holistic approach to your hair care.
And so was that the brief to the chemist?
Yes, it was,
Yeah.
like, there it was. So the brief, there's 3 formulas in the line right now,
Mm-hmm.
and they all have commonalities in terms of they all have an element of being heat protective. They all have kind of like nourishing ingredients for the hair and the scalp, and then each one has its own role. Of course, there's a shampoo that builds the tone, a conditioner that helps with the shine and manageability, and a leave-in that really is the hero, is the heat protectiveness as well as the texture. Each one does its own thing, but there's a common rule for commonalities across the formulas for each one.
Yeah. Let's shift to the concept of ageism in beauty. And you and I talked about this, and I
Yeah.
think we're relatively aligned. So, like, once consumers turn 40, the industry tends to lump us
Yes.
all,
We're all the
Gen X
same.
and above, into
Right.
like this 50-year generation,
Totally. Yes.
right? And
Clumped in.
why do you think beauty still struggles so intensely with nuance when it comes to age?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because at the same time, I think that Um, the industry's also always recognized that it's a big opportunity. I feel like I've seen brands that are targeted at mature consumers come and flop and come and flop, you know? And so
Mm,
we've always understood like, oh, the consumer over 40 or 50, they have a lot of spending power. Let's try to address them. Oh, let's launch this brand. Oh no, they didn't buy it. So actually, let's just go back to focusing on the younger consumer. And I was thinking about this. I think just a lot of it comes back to like who is in the room, right? Like who is
mm,
in the room. And a lot of marketing teams, I can definitely say from experience from having run a lot of them, a lot of marketing teams are very young. Um, they tend to be on the younger side. I think, unfortunately, once you pass age 40 and you're on a beauty marketing team, like and I don't think it's intentional, but I think you start to feel like, oh my gosh, I don't fit in because I'm so much older. That person could be my daughter. And you start feeling like this distance from some of your team, if there even is somebody of that age on the team. So I think it's just
yeah,
natural where if your job is communication, you're going to naturally be better at communicating to people who you relate with more. And your age group is a big part of that. So if we're putting out communications that don't hit with the target, then we're going to see like, oh, well, who's engaging with our social media? Oh, well, it's all people in their 20s, it's all people under 30. So, maybe we should just focus back there. Oh, like who's clicking on our ads? Oh, it's people in their 20s. But like, who made that message? Who made that message in the
yeah,
first place? Right. So it becomes this kind of like self serving chicken versus egg type of thing where you're like, well, people over 40, they're just not that into social media. They're just not that into this type of ad. But I mean, I feel like people like I think all generations are chronically online these days. So I don't think it's that. I think it's getting the messaging to hit with the audience. And so, just I think it just comes back to make sure whoever you want to talk to is actually in the room to help you fine
yeah.
tune that message.
Do you think the hair market and the skin care market are seeing the consumer through that same age lens, or is it different? Like I think about how a brand like Lancome in beauty
Mhm.
is set up,
Right.
where there are like um there are very clear delineations in between franchises, among franchises that target specific consumers like 20s, 30s, 40s. And I remember working on a franchise and a product that I named called Platinum. That was like, the way in for 55 plus. Like, is that same segmentation applied to hair?
I think, um, I've actually never worked on a hair care brand other than Silverist,
Other than
but
your own.
other than my own, but I would imagine so. And I think I see conversations coming up more and more around this idea of like hair longevity, which is just
Mm,
the hair industry's way to say hair anti-aging.
right,
So I think so. And it's not that age is wrong. We need like
right.
age is such a huge part of someone's identity. But yeah, I think I just go back to like whoever you're trying to talk to, are you actually messaging to them in a way that they relate to? Not how you think they would relate to, but how
Mm.
they actually relate to.
That's the same conversation when it comes to marketing to men.
I'm
You know,
sure
you want to talk to a man the way he wants to be talked to, not the way you think he wants to be talked to, if that makes sense,
it makes
right? Like,
absolute sense. Absolute
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, and it's funny too. I think you alluded earlier to this idea that, marketers have been talking forever about reaching an older consumer, and they've been talking forever about reaching a male consumer. And the male consumer is finally coming around.
Right.
But you don't see that in the numbers. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's the same thing. Like I can't think of, I mean, most beauty marketing teams are women. So it's,
Mhm.
it's like I think it's very
Yes,
simple.
totally.
It's very simple actually. It's just like, I mean, yeah, I hate to just make it a cliche, but like if you put me into a marketing department for marketing golf clubs, I don't even know what they're called. Like, I would have no idea. I would have no natural intuition. I'd have to learn everything. I mean, of course, I can, like, study the consumer and stuff, but it would still just not be natural to me. So, just
Yeah.
kind of you just have to know your consumer in a deep
You need
way.
golfers in the room,
Exactly, exactly.
right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I guess honestly, that's where old school focus groups came into play, right?
Right,
Because you could get golfers in the room and hear how golfers speak and what, or men speak,
right.
and they don't do that anymore. They don't do those focus groups anymore.
It's
They do
true.
online surveys. It's not the
Right.
same thing as sitting. I'm sure you did it. You sit behind the
Oh,
glass.
absolutely.
Oh my God. And the things that you would hear, like, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've kind of had a pendulum swing about that where I kind of, through I definitely, that was always like, yes, you've got to have a focus group, you've got to listen to the
Mm-hmm.
qualitative research.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think my brain started to shift more to like, well, if you're very online and you're reading all the comments and all of this, you can get a pretty good sense of your consumer. Like you shouldn't need a focus group to truly understand that, but now I think I'm going back to like, it would be nice to have a old school focus group and really dive deep into specific topics.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I loved observing that, going around the table. And
right.
it was like it was like watching jury duty, right? Have you ever been on jury duty?
No, I haven't yet.
Oh my god, it's the most amazing experience besides the whole like fiasco of sitting in this massive room all day and you're
Oh
not
my
supposed to be on your
gosh.
phone and are you chosen, are you not chosen, like answering questions and all that stuff. Once you're actually on a jury, it's the coolest experience. And you sit there and you listen to the same thing with 11 other people, and the back and forth between the attorneys, and they're arguing their cases and witnesses are being questioned, and you have a very clear idea of what you've witnessed and what you believe happened. And you
Right.
go into the jury room to deliberate, and all of a sudden you're like, what? Didn't you just watch the same thing I watched for a week? How could you possibly think that way? That makes no sense. And
Interesting.
it was really interesting. It was fascinating. We did it, and I remember we were hung. Like we couldn't come to an agreement. There were two or three jurors who just believed that he was guilty, and the rest of us didn't think that he was guilty, or that there wasn't enough evidence to prove guilt. And so we were hung. But I never forgot that experience. Like of
Interesting.
hearing people's opinions and seeing things like a concept in a focus group read to them, and seeing how they interpret it through their own experience and their own lens. It's
Right.
fascinating.
It really is. It really is. I think you're right. I don't think there's anything that truly replaces
Yeah, we need to bring back the focus group. Bring
that.
back the focus
Bring
group.
it back. Bring it back.
If anybody at L'Oreal is listening to this, we really did appreciate the experience, and you're traumatized too, but bring back the focus group. um So, we talked a bit about this, like
Uh-huh.
the paralysis, of decision making and knowing when to let go. As a founder, it's different than, when you're working inside
Right.
another company on developing their brand. How do you personally know when it's right to hold on versus when it's time to delegate, hire, or bring in extra help that you may or may not be able to afford within your budget?
Right. I mean, I think about this a lot because
Mm.
It's a different math as a founder for sure. Um, and I get it now, in terms of like founder paralysis and kind of, you know, going through decisions in a much more fine-toothed way. And it's a little bit it's harder to it is harder to be objective. But I think that um it, it's actually very simple. It's just like when something becomes too much of a bottleneck because you're hanging on to it, then you need to hire someone to help you. So I think about that a lot. I'm like, okay, is this function becoming too much? I have someone working on operations now. And at first I was like, oh, can I afford to do this right now? But now I'm like, thank God I did that. So
Mm.
I also think, like, once you resource that area, if you suddenly feel like, "Thank God I did that," and you suddenly feel everything unlock in that area, that's how you know that you made the right decision because you were holding it back by hanging on for too long. So, I feel like I've been pretty lucky so far in that the right person or resource has kind of come into my journey just as I've needed them.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think that's the litmus test. Like, I think I'll make a list for myself of like, these are the things that I wish I could accomplish, and then I kind of cluster them. I'm like, oh, interesting, they're all in this area. So it's probably time to bite the bullet and, you know, add some resources there. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So Silverus is still young,
it's still very
but
young.
you're already carving out a distinctive voice and hair. Like you've identified this market, and you're really building it out. When you look ahead, what does success actually look like for you beyond revenue and distribution?
I think longevity actually in terms of
Mm.
I it would be great to see Silvers be a brand that will still be around in a generation. Um, yeah, that would be a really cool success, like, kind of like, "Okay, I left this for the world or for the next generation to come up into."
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the fun part of the interview. Not that this is tedious. We'll do the lightning round. My favorite question I ask every one of my guests: something you believed earlier in your career that you no longer believe.
Um, in the early part of my career, I really believed, like, okay, to be successful as a marketer, you've gotta get stamped by a big CPG company. Like, you've gotta go to
Mm.
a Procter& and Gamble or a Johnson& and Johnson or a Unilever. You have to be stamped by one of these. Otherwise, you won't be properly trained. Um, and I definitely, like, don't even think that that would not even cross my mind anymore if I were, you know, reviewing a resume at this point. Like, I think everything's changed so much, so that's something I definitely no longer believe in.
Interesting. A beauty industry rule you quietly love breaking.
Oh my gosh. A beauty industry rule I quietly love breaking. What are the rules?
There
That's
are no rules.
There are no rules. I'm so stumped by that. I mean, I feel like Silverus is basically breaking that is the existence of Silverus is breaking that in terms of that you can't market to older consumers, you can't market
Hmm.
gray hair. So
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. The hardest part of being a founder no one warned you about.
the hardest part of being a founder is just the try being objective. It's really hard. It's your baby, it's your child. It's really hard to have that professional distance that comes so easily when you're working on another brand.
Yeah. Step away from all of this.
Mhm.
So, thinking about you in your daily life, what's a habit you swear you'll quit but haven't?
It's a habit I'll quit. I mean, I am way too chronically online. And I try to make rules for myself, about like,
Uh-huh.
I can only watch TikTok for X amount of hours. I'm not going to watch
Right.
TikTok in bed. And I, I'm really bad, I'm really bad
Do
at
you
all of
you
that.
have an iPhone?
Yes.
Do you get that weekly report on Sundays that says where you spent your time and all that?
Yes. I feel
It's
so
kind of
proud of
scary.
myself when it tells
Yeah.
me that I have a decrease versus the previous week.
Yes, me
I'm like,
too.
"Oh my god, I did well. I went outside, I
Yes.
touched grass. I'm a
I'm
proper human."
accomplished.
Yes.
Yes. A small daily ritual you cherish.
Hmm, um, Probably that morning cup of coffee is
Mhm.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. I take mine and I go back to bed. I feed the cat. I get my coffee and I get back in bed for about a half an hour.
You
Not
do.
sleeping or
That's
anything,
nice,
I'm like
actually.
reading and doing my Wordle, things like that.
Yeah.
Uh something that instantly puts you in a better mood.
Uh, Exercise,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what is that for you?
These days it'll be a Pilates class or a
Oh,
walk with my
wow.
dog. So that's kind of the main things these days.
Does your dog know that you secretly wanted to be a vet growing up?
No, I don't think my dog has any conception of that.
Do you practice being a vet with your dog?
Not at not at all. I don't do any vet-like things in my life these days.
Mm, mm. I
No.
wish I knew, like, the basics of, like, how to clean his teeth.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
no, see, I
these
definitely
people
it's
that
so
brush their cat's teeth, I'm like, "What? He
I
doesn't Your cat doesn't
yeah.
bite your face off for that?" Like
I mean, yeah, see, this is why it's good I didn't become a vet because I other than giving my dog a greenie, those little, like,
Mhm.
dental
Yes.
chew toys,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is, like, proper to admit, but, like, I've never attempted to brush my dog's teeth.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know.
fine, I don't think you're
It's
alone. A job you'd be terrible at.
Being an accountant would be I'd be
Ah!
really bad at that, I think,
Me
because I
too.
yeah.
Yeah, my own accountant would agree.
I think my accountant actually thinks I'm pretty organized, but it's just like you know, I'm more like I'm very like I think I'm actually like good at financial management, all of that. But then I'm also like a big picture person. I'm like, okay, close enough. Like when it comes down to like finding that last $2 or something for a receipt. I'm like, it was just a typo. And like the person who does my books is like, no, we have to find it. And thank God, because that's their job. But I'm like, it's a dollar off. That's why I'd be a terrible accountant. I'm like, well, I'd just be like, yeah, overall looks good. Great. Let's
Just
move on
smooth
to the
it
next
out.
share.
Figure it out.
Revenue's
Yeah,
good.
totally.
You're shrinking your
Yep.
expenses. Let's go. So
Yes. If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
probably working at another beauty brand,
Oh,
and
no.
yeah, I'd probably be on the corporate ladder doing,
Right.
trying to grow someone else's brand.
You'd be hosting an MRM meeting.
I hope not.
All right, last question. Finish this sentence. Lately, I'm
Gosh,
obsessed with.
my dog's sense of smell.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Don't they pets like the cat? My god, he sniffs everything.
Right, just thinking about just observing I think because like, my dog is my companion when I'm home because I work from home,
Yeah.
obviously, so, like,
Yeah.
lately I've been a lot like, "Oh, what does she think about? What's in her world?" Like, I wish I had one of those translation devices from that movie Up, that movie
Mhm.
that Pixar
Yep.
movie where the golden retriever has that device. Like, I want one
Yeah.
of those so I can understand, what she's thinking. So
Well, maybe someday, AI is moving fast.
maybe if, yes, maybe if I wasn't working on Silverist, that's what I could work on.
Totally. Thank you, Evelyn. This was incredible. I really appreciate it. How
Yeah, it was
fun.
fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to drop links to the products in the show notes
Great.
so our listeners can check out Silverist.
Thank you.
And
Really appreciate that.
yeah, thank you so much. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Thank you for listening to the Skin Karma Pod. Find more insights, real talk, and reviews of my favorite skincare products on the Skin Karma blog at skinkarma.com. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please rate and review this episode. It helps me to reach more listeners. Ciao.